Hello, beautiful people. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I've missed y'all. I haven't done a vlog in about 5 or 6 weeks. I had a couple of weeks in there where I was pretty much just at home. I wasn't feeling well and kind of gave in to that. So I was able to get back on my feet right before Christmas. And I'm thankful to be up. I'm feeling better, and I praise God for that. I also want to thank all of you for your continued prayers, your support, your love, and friendship. And I feel those things. They're tangible. They're real energies and substances that I know are there. None of you have to take your time to do that, but you do. And I want you to know how much it means to me and how much it really helps me emotionally, mentally, and physically. It's all a thematic composite. It's not an isolated thing. So thank you all very much. I want to thank you for the Get Well cards, the cards you send me for encouragement, Thanksgiving cards, the Christmas cards, family pictures, gifts, gift cards, this beautiful necklace that Kaylee Neal sent me. I mean, it's beautifully overwhelming, and it means so much, and I just want to take this time to thank you very much. Thank you. It's amazing that Christmas is behind us by one day, but Christmas season doesn't end until January the 6th. So if you're running behind on things, remember that. That's an avenue of days that maybe help us feel that we're not so far behind. And I want to wish you all a Happy New Year. And I pray that 2020 is wonderful for everybody, that it's a better year in every way, and that your hopes, your prayers, and desires come to manifest. As far as what I'm doing as far as medically, I'm hoping to be able to bump up the beginning of my reconstruction, since I am not doing the standard chemo and immune therapy protocol. So I know that my plastic surgeon has moved offices, and that began after Thanksgiving. And I know that's quite a process with medical records and all the things involved with a medical practice. So I'm hoping that we can get something scheduled. Excuse me. It was tentatively, reconstruction was to start in February, and that was based on completing chemo, and I would have still continued the immune target therapy. But, and reconstruction may not start until February, and as quickly as time's passing, maybe that's just right for me, regardless of the declining of the standard protocol. So I'll keep you posted on that. Tentatively, again, this was based on completing chemo. I should have the port out sometime in January, and then things, I guess, will fall back into schedule medically for the port removal and reconstruction. I don't know how the reconstruction process really works, other than I know it's a pretty long-winded procedure. I was told it would take about 2 years, but that may not be quite the same, since I'm not in a recovery mode from chemo, and I don't know if there's a lag time because of the immune therapy that I was supposed to do. So as I find out those things, I'll pass that on, and it may help others that are anticipating these procedures also. I'll tell you that I implemented SCAT and black cumin seed oil, which I have been taking regularly. I don't know if it's doing anything. I think maybe part of being unwell for a couple of weeks was maybe a type of slow detox that was a result of these two things that I'm taking. I think that's very possible because they are detoxers. And I'm taking things slowly because I know I have a lot of chemicals in my body. When I went to the surgeries in August and September, latter part of July, August and September, that's a lot of medicines that I was taking orally as well as being put under 4 times for surgery. So I want to take detoxing very slowly. I've also been doing intermittent fasting and taking 2 or 3 days to fast with the original recipe for master cleansing. I've done that in the past, over the past decade, and I've done it many days, but I haven't built up to even 10 days yet. I'm still taking things slowly because I don't want extreme detox reactions. I've experienced those in the past, and they are these Hexheimer results from fast detoxing can be very tough, especially if you're filled with a lot of toxins. So anyway, these things I think are effective, even though I don't see any immediate or overt results from that. I will see my oncologist in February, and she'll do the typical lab work. So I'll see what that reveals. That's all I can do, and I don't know if there'll be any results from what I'm doing here, but I certainly expect my levels to be good, and I don't expect anything to be off the charts that would indicate any aberrations going on, I guess. But I'm not sure exactly how that works. But I'm looking forward to having that lab work done. I have to say, too, that all I've done is read and study about alternative approaches to fighting cancer, fighting microcells, fighting cells that are not operating properly, which we know that's what cancer is. And I've read so much, and there are so many alternatives out there, and I approach that with great caution. I think there's a lot of snake oil out there, so to speak. So if anyone's doing research just for their own knowledge, or for a family member or a friend, or for yourself, just be cautious and really do your own research. There are also some good support groups online, and I've joined a couple of those, and just to get a feel, they're almost like blogs with a lot of input. So use your mind, think things through, and I've learned, and I share this with you, don't do anything out of total desperation. Do thinking, always pray about things. Always pray for God's wisdom, because He does say that He will give that to us freely, unabridged. And I think the most important thing is God's wisdom and guidance, to guide us on the right path and what to do. So that is really the foundation of this choice, was praying about God's wisdom and where I should go. So it's a way to exercise our faith as well. So I share that with you as something I think is the most important thing, not only about your health, but about everything. So I've studied and studied about different approaches, and I have some things I'm going to implement, but I'm not going to implement everything at one time, because I do want to see if I have any reactions or anything like that. But I do know that, when one's diagnosed with a serious health problem, It doesn't just affect one physically, but it certainly affects the emotions and the mentality. It has me, for sure. And because I've gone through this before, there is a post-traumatic stress reaction to being diagnosed a second time because I have a point of reference. You know, I know what, I'm not as green as I was the first diagnosis, I guess. I do have a point of reference. And that does put you in a traumatic, stressful reaction because it was not a pleasant experience to go through. So I've been studying about the emotional and the psychological reactions to things, and something that I find to be an experience that I'm still trying to deal with is dysregulation. And symptoms of this, and I've been experiencing this, is that your mind is everywhere. It's just like the focus that one may have had is just fragmented. You can't finish things. You can't stay focused. Your mind is just constantly racing with no real correlation about anything. It's just everywhere. And then I read about the connection to that, which our primary emotions dealing with dysregulation, you feel overwhelmed. And that is something that I've really walked through. Not only with this, but, you know, there's been some hard stuff the last few years. And this was just another very shocking thing to be re-diagnosed with cancer. So there's overwhelming feelings, and then you begin to isolate, you feel alone, and you become kind of fearful. So if anyone's going through that is because of dysregulation based on stress reactions. So in that context, if you're feeling those things, they're normal. But you certainly want to study and learn how to fight against those primary emotions of feeling overwhelmed, feeling isolated and alone, and feeling fearful. You want to get back to a more positive frame of mind, but you have to fight those things. I think all of us do under a lot of circumstances. So that's something that I've learned, and I know that because we are a triad being, you know, mind, spirit, and body, that being diagnosed with cancer is not just a physical component, but it does affect our emotions and our mind, and it affects us spiritually. So when we go through this type of deregulation because of circumstances or sickness or whatever, it affects us completely, and we have to take those parts together and fight against those really negative things that are going on physically, emotionally, mentally, and really try to bring the spiritual part. Don't forget about the spiritual part, because that's the part that we really are, a spirit in a body. So one way to fight this I've found, and I'm doing some things, you know, you want to come to the point where at least there's peace, you know, there's some kind of harmony. And I have found that meditating, and there's different ways to meditate. I'm a Christian, so I really don't want to employ the Eastern approaches and philosophies of meditation. But there are Christian ways to meditate. And one thing that I have found, several approaches, and you can find these on YouTube, like taking a scripture and taking one section of that scripture out and then applying, you know, meditation to that. capturing your thoughts. I mean, it's a grid, and it's very interesting. And I didn't write down the link, but you could find that on YouTube if you're interested. Another thing that I've found that I find really fascinating, and I've been following this guy for over a year, is Wim Hof. And if you're not familiar with Wim Hof, check him out. I have not employed his total protocol, but I have been practicing his breathing. And it's really incredible how focusing on your breathing in different ways really does something to one physically and mentally. But it takes practice, and I found that to be of value. I have not been as disciplined as I would like because I guess I'm going through this, the deregulation, so I'm kind of overwhelmed and scattered, but I'm working. This is another way for me to get more focused and build discipline back in my life instead of, being so scattered about, what's going to happen, or cancer, or whatever those things that I think about a lot of things that once I get in that mode, it's the same thing, the overwhelmness, feeling alone, and feeling somewhat fearful. So meditation, doing a practiced breathing has been helpful, and I recommend that. Another guy that I've kind of investigated is Dispenza, and he has a certain way of teaching breathing that is a bit different than Wim Hof. But Wim Hof, check him out. He certainly walks his talk, and his talk is really, really interesting. The next thing, I am doing the seed oil and the Essiac tea with discipline, and I'm still sporadically doing celery juicing, and I'm still sporadically doing the adrenal cocktail, which is supposed to heal the adrenal glands. And I know that mine are all fatigued and not doing anything but spewing cortisol through my body all the time in a the fight fear reaction. So I'm trying to get that. I know that's a problem that I've had for a long time, and the adrenal cocktail. If you look that up, it's affordable. Of course, you always want to be careful if you're on medication. I was a little apprehensive about taking it because they had me on the beta blocker to prepare me for the Herceptin, and I didn't know if that extra potassium would cause a problem. But I'm off the beta blockers because I'm not doing, again, the standard protocol for cancer treatment. So I feel more comfortable doing the natural adrenal fatigue protocol 3 or 4 times a week. But the thing that I'm going to add, I've made a list of things that I've researched, and I'm really tired of studying cancer. It seems like that's all I've done for, even before I decided not to do the chemo. But I'm going to have to take a break because I realize it's what I'm doing every day, and I think I need a couple of weeks not thinking and not studying about cancer and things that I can do as an alternative to make sure microcells are not going to develop and to support my health in a continued way for betterment. So I'm adding fulvic acid, which is it's an organic acid, and it's components of soil, and it's a volcanic substance. And what this does is help the body recharge negatively. Now, it's kind of the opposite of what we might think. We don't want positive charged ions in our body in mass because it's toxic. We want negative charged ions flowing through our body because that keeps our body healthy. It keeps our cells regulated. It causes our body to do what it was designed to do. Well, obviously, I am not negatively charged because I was diagnosed with a serious immune disease, ME/CVS, Epstein-Barr virus, 3 decades ago, and that has developed from that foundation several other immune illnesses, and then ultimately cancer. So I know right there that my body's in a positive charge, just based on that. So fulvic acid, from everything I've studied, will help the body recharge toward a negative side, which is the healthy side internally. We have a lot of things to fight because of food. That causes our body to become positively charged. And there's a name for that. It's positive ion poisoning. And we get that from, it's free radicals. And you've heard about free radicals. So we know what that deal is. That's not good for our body. But that's what happens. Our body becomes positively charged and begins to cause destruction because it is damaging and toxic to our internal health. Positive ion poisoning damages cells. Well, we know that immune problems are damaged cells. Cancer certainly is damaged cells, not functioning correctly. It causes our system to be acid, and we have heard enough to know that our body should be more on the alkaline side. And ultimately, because the immune system is depressed, repressed, and not functioning properly, it cannot fight and do what it was designed to do. So I want negative ions in my body so it can fight as it's supposed to fight. And fulvic acid is a natural approach to that. I mean, there's machines you can buy and things like that, but for me that's cost prohibitive. And you don't know what really is effective and what isn't. But I know fulvic acid, from everything I've read, is an organic material that will help to do that. It helps with your gut health, with helping to get back on the negative charged field that we should have, because everything's electromagnetic. We have cell phones, we have computers, all of that contributes to positive charged cells in our body, free radicals, acid rain, bad UV, chemtrails, all of those things. So we have to. I never thought about that. I thought about all these things and how bad they were, and they are. But I never thought about the internal component, other than, I need to alkaline my system more. But you can do that all day. But if you do not get your body in the negative field of charge, of internal charge, all that other stuff is not effective. So I'm trying to get to the root. And fulvic acid is one thing that I'm going to implement. So I figure that'll take, several months before I really begin to see the effectiveness of that. And I'm really excited about adding this to my my protocol. So I'll keep you posted. So that's about that's about what's going on now. It's so weird to not be talking about sitting here with no hair and a cap on and telling you, well, I'll be finished with chemo in in 8 weeks or whatever. I think about that because that would be the truth of that choice. But here I am, hair, feeling pretty good, not being infused, not sick and vomiting, and those things that I remember vividly from 2013, 2014. So on that note, I want to thank you for your prayers. I know you're praying for my health, for my goodwill, for the right direction. And it makes a difference. I know I said this at the beginning of the vlog, but thank you. All of those things are positive things to support this process. I thank you that you share your kindness and your thoughtfulness, not only with me, but I'm absolutely sure that you do that with the people in your world. So share kindness, share love. I try to keep my mind on that. I realize how easy it is to be selfish and not so thoughtful. And I feel that way about myself. I want to be less selfish, less self-absorbed, more giving, more loving. And I've somehow lost that discipline. So that's part of my healthiness also. And you all are setting wonderful examples for me. So I'll see you soon. Happy New Year, and God bless each and every one of you.